next specialty fabric is the Guipure lace. And this lace is not to be confused with the Alencon lace. I can see that right here. You can see they're very similar, but whereas the Alencon lace also has a netting within it, and you usually cut around that netting in order to give the trim look, or even place it on top to give this sort of illusion look. So if you have a garment, a dress that's going to be white, you sort of place it on there. Usually this is cut out of it. If not, it just stays there very translucent. And again, we said it has a sort of raised look to it, but then you can see the thread woven into it. There's pieces of sequin usually. Now the Guipure lace is almost like a knit. So it does have more of the tightly woven threads in it. It's often metallic, but doesn't have to be. And you don't see any netting. So this is straight see-through. There's no netting here. It's a little bit heavier than your Alencon lace. But it looks really beautiful when you're putting like a lighter weight fabric underneath it and sort of using it as an accent piece to lay on top of it, as most laces are. But this is really beautiful. It's often mostly seen in bridal attire, so you'll see it as a bridal gown. The full extent of the dress will be something like this. So I just chose this taupe that I use for a different garment as a sample piece for a different garment, but you'll often see it in white. And again, the difference between this and the Alencon is that there's no netting in the inside. See, as you can see here, netting, no netting. And this looks more like a knit, and the threads are more tightly woven together, where this is a little more thinner and loose. Next we have this beaded fabric. And this again is just a mixture of, as you can look up close, it's sequin, we have beads, there's a couple of glass beads, there's a couple of different things going on. And what I love about this fabric is the way it reflects off of light, obviously, and just the different textures that come within this fabric. It's similar to sequin in that you can't run it through your sewing machine without first removing the areas in which you're going to sew. So this, especially since it has this bumpy texture, you're not going to be able to put this under your sewing machine, and it often requires a lot of hand sewing when we're talking about this kinds of fabric, because this is not something you want to run through your sewing machine. But if you have to, like if it's the basis of an entire dress, you want to make sure that you first remove all the beading from that area, and once it's done and it's closed, then you have to go in and replace it. And you're going to be using a beading needle. Remember, it's that long needle that we covered in Know Your Tools. It's that long needle that will allow you to sew through the sequin and the beads. And then your invisible thread. Again, we covered in Know Your Tools module the types of thread. Next up, we just have your standard lace, and this is maybe a lace that you guys are more familiar with. It doesn't have that raised edge. It comes in so many different types. Use it for bridal, you can use it for a regular semi-formal dress. It's not raised in any way, it's flat. It does have the netting in it, but you don't usually cut away the netting because it's woven into the fabric itself. So if you try to cut that away, it would create quite a mess. So it's not really meant to be separated from the actual design itself. It's a part of the design. And like I said, I enjoy the chantilly. There's so many different types of lace that you can use for different kinds of projects, but this is just like your standard lace that you use and don't cut away. This chiffon type fabric, it's see-through, very lightweight. It's used for a variety of things. You can pleat it, like we've seen a lot of Madame Gray's designs. If you pleat it, you can add it to the bodice of the dress, to the body of a dress. It does require special finishing to it. As you can see, these raw edges, so it's like raw and selvage all together, but these raw edges, as soon as you cut, they're all over the place. So you can't finish this the way you would any other garment. This almost always requires a French seam. And when we cover seams, we'll go into exactly how that technique is done. But yeah, this is just some of your standard special occasion fabrics that you would use when For more detailed information regarding the most commonly used fabrics and special occasions dressmaking, please head to the link in the description for my specialty fabrics ebook. I go into full detail. There's pictures there and explanation of how to use the fabrics and the tips for the best possible outcome. Visit the link in the description. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Videos are uploaded weekly covering dressmaking, fashion, lectures, and more.